Hey everybody, welcome to the Invest Answers Newsflash. Cool news, different perspective, my analysis for money-making ideas. So if you don't know this channel or if you're new, please hit the like and subscribe. Again, you won't regret it. Okay, quick disclaimer, these are my points of view for entertainment purposes only. And if you are investing, please consult with your investment advisor. So let's jump in and start at the very top. This news segment is going to cover a whole bunch of different stuff, but everything, as always, ties together and all roads lead one place. So let's jump in and talk about the dollar index. Some people call it the Dixie. So the dollar fell to a 2-week low. There was some what they call benign inflation news, but you got to remember the inflation news and the inflation numbers that they use and that are published by the US government are a little bit manipulated because they don't include food and energy, which are critical. There's some problems with the US yields, of course, like always. But what's interesting about this chart is I like to compare the US dollar to the euro. Europe has many of the similar problems that the US has around printing of money and everything else, low interest rates. In fact, they got negative interest rates in some of the banks. If you are in Switzerland or in some other places and you've got a big deposit on hand, the banks will charge you. They will not pay you interest. But when I look at the euro against the dollar, the euro is stronger. That shows you how bad off the actual US dollar is. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to get some of the bad news out of the way first because these are things, again, that will help us arrive at the conclusion. So they forecast that US debt will be 103% of GDP. This hasn't happened since World War II. Obviously, wars are very expensive, and this news is not good. It doesn't bode well for the economy. It doesn't bode well for growth. It makes the US dollar a riskier asset. And what does that all mean? It means Bitcoin will become more popular. So again, not a good thing, but as always, all roads lead to Bitcoin. A little bit of good news. 10 years ago today, Bitcoin hit $1. Who wants 4.8 million % returns? Anybody? 10 years, pretty good. So just a little piece of history I think we all need to know. Imagine throwing $100 at Bitcoin 10 years ago today. Okay, you can write in the comments what the answer is to that. Pretty easy one, easy math problem today. Let's talk a bit about crypto dominance. So there's a lot of change happening out here as well that I think you all kind of need to be aware of. First of all, Bitcoin is at about 62.3%. It was higher a little while ago, as you can see from the chart, the blue line. But what's very interesting to point out here is the orange line is Ethereum. And even though Ethereum is breaking all-time highs, the other line down there, which is the green line, that's a mixed bag of hundreds of different coins. Some, maybe even thousands of coins, but you can see that they've actually ramped up in price and have become more popular. So a lot of people are FOMOing into all of these altcoins. Some people have other words for them. Just for reference, I believe in Bitcoin first. That's blue chip, with a small portion of my portfolio in Ethereum because I believe if they pull off Ethereum 2.0, DeFi and everything else, it'll be huge. So just want to share that regarding the dominance. Know where you play. There is only one blue chip. That's Bitcoin. Ethereum will win the day because they got more developers than anybody else. But let's go a little bit deeper into Ethereum. So I made up this little thing called ETH2K. Again, I'm starting to try and build these new hashtags and acronyms. I'll float this one on Twitter later today. But ETH2K is when Ethereum will hit 2,000, and I think it's going to come soon. So on February 10th, we hit an all-time high of 1837. And currently, as we speak, Ethereum is about 1790. So we're not far off that all-time high at all. Now, what's also happened is there's been a robust uptrend for the last month, and the whales are really beginning to accumulate Ethereum. So the number of holders that have between 100,000 and 1 million Ethereum has jumped by 38 in a month. That 38 may sound like a low number, but if you look at the amount that this 38 groups actually own, it's huge, it's substantial. And the market capitalization of Ethereum beat 200 billion for the first time ever. You can see as well the Ethereum price can quickly jump to $2,000 a coin. So let's stay tuned for that. It would be funny if it happened at the same time that Bitcoin hits 50,000. So think about that one. So CME futures, as you saw in my release last week, a lot of people had questions for me about the impact of CME futures. People saw it as a very bearish narrative. I said, no, it's going to be good because, as I said last week, the more mainstream the asset, the more stability it brings and the more money it attracts. So as a result, it's kind of poetic, but there was no bearish narrative. In fact, Ethereum hit all-time highs. So again, sometimes people worry for nothing. And in addition, just a quick time check here. Tomorrow is Chinese New Year. More potential bearish sentiment. We'll see what happens there. Again, as I said a few weeks ago, I'm not concerned about Chinese New Year, but fingers crossed, I hope I'm not wrong. The other thing that's also happened is the total crypto market cap has topped 1.4 trillion. So this is a size that can no longer be ignored. Talk about going mainstream. Many people said as well, when Bitcoin hits $1 trillion in value, it'll attract even more money and spike up even higher. So it's funny the way people won't buy Bitcoin if it's worth, $100 billion. But once it hits $1 trillion, they all flood in. So another piece of good news. Mooch, the Mooch. This is Scaramucci, President Trump's former press secretary. I think he was there for 8 or 9 days, I think maybe 10 days on the job. But he runs Skybridge Capital, and he just put a $100,000 price target on Bitcoin. So he's joined the club, the $100,000 club. There's a lot of people that actually place that actual value on Bitcoin. No biggie, just thought I'd share, just came out fresh off the press. Now, for those that hate all the FUD about Bitcoin mining using so much electricity and being bad for the environment and everything else, a recent stat just published, Bitcoin mining and crypto mining in general uses 39% renewables. Think about that. That is wind, solar, hydroelectric power, all those different types of things. So it's really, really good news. And I think that will probably hit 50% soon because, once that happens, that tipping point, I think then it'll be a fast track to setting up mining facilities right beside renewable energy sources. So, a little bit of Twitter news. Twitter is the latest enterprise who is thinking about moving their part of their treasures into Bitcoin. But not only that, it got bigger. They're very interested in how they can actually pay their vendors in Bitcoin. And also, some employees actually want to be paid in Bitcoin. So that's all coming, and the Twitter CFO is a very forward-thinking fellow. He's thinking beyond just treasuries, which is good news. And also remember the link between Twitter and Square, same CEO, Jack Dorsey. So obviously this is a foregone conclusion, but it's already impacted the Twitter Square price quite dramatically. I think it was up 7% yesterday. And then on that note, employees want to be paid in Bitcoin. A lot of people, a lot of consultants, especially if consultants are doing international gigs, why would they want to be paid in fiat when they can be paid in crypto? So expect to see a lot more of that, and companies really figuring out how they can actually pay employees or even contractors that may be all over the world in cryptocurrency. And that'll be a big step forward. Let's talk about banks. You guys probably heard this to death already today. But America's oldest and one of the most conservative banks, Bank of New York, Mellon, just decided they would custody crypto for their customers. So a big step. Again, it's much more of that whole mainstream narrative. And I always spoke about the toothpaste coming out of the tube. There's no putting it back in now. It's out. It's mainstream and it's there. Adapt or die, more mainstream news. Visa has kind of been pushing down the crypto pathway with work with Ethereum for quite some time. Now, Mastercard has just decided to jump in and let merchants accept payments in crypto this year. They knew the writing was on the wall. Now it's time for them to play catch up. Again, Visa, Mastercard, Square, PayPal. Soon the whole world will be accepting crypto. Another interesting note, it looks like Amazon is trying to test out their own digital currency project. I think they used this digital currency for gaming in the past. But now they're doing a test for Amazon Prime members in Mexico with their digital currency. I personally would have no interest in an Amazon digital currency. No offense, Amazon. I'm an Amazon Prime member, but no. Again, everybody's going to want to create their own currency, coin, etc. Thousands already have. More to come, but I think it'll just fizzle out and fail. Unless, of course, they offer some huge cashback mechanism, then perhaps it could be worthwhile. Again, if there's an arbitrage opportunity there somewhere. So, British media, just griping for a second. I don't know why there's so much negativity out of British rags, but the Financial Times actually posted an article written by Nouriel Roubini, who is a New York professor who hates Bitcoin. But I don't know why the Financial Times is publishing his work. Maybe because he can't get published in the US anymore. I'm not sure. And then, of course, the BBC News, one day, everyone will use China's digital currency. China have plans to build their own central bank digital currency, CBDC. You're going to hear that word a lot as we go forward. And there is also that theory as well that if China build their own CBDC and they want the world to use it, they'll try to find a way to kill Bitcoin. But again, per my video yesterday, I wouldn't worry about that at all. Oh, by the way, would you want to own some Chinese central bank digital currency? Would you want China knowing where you are spending your money and what you're doing all the time? And the answer is, I don't think anybody would want that. So, pretty scary future. Anyway, Wall Street. This is another little interesting piece of news, and this stems back to the Wall Street Bets Reddit group and everything else. But it was interesting, and I like to find patterns. Basically, what it says is Democrats and Millenials no longer trust Wall Street. Now, you probably think, who cares? What a big deal. But remember, Millenials are the most important group today as they go forward. They are going to be the ones with the money in about 10 years. And if they don't trust Wall Street, where are they going to put their money? Again, all roads lead where? Bitcoin. In a little bit of unrelated news, everybody's talking about SPACs these days, and I thought this was an interesting one to share with the audience. I know I have some physicists that follow this channel, but this is about a company called Archer. They've built an electronic airplane called the eVTOL. The eVTOL uses 250 to 270 watt-hour per kilogram batteries. Now, I remember looking at this space a couple of years back, and I thought the tipping point was to have an energy density of around 400 watt-hours per kilogram to fly. And the Tesla roadmap from their battery day is to build a battery with about 300 watt-hours per kilogram, which is by far the world's best battery on Earth in terms of power to weight ratio. So the question is, are United making a bad investment here, investing in this plane that may not fly? That's the big question for all of you out there. They spent $1 billion and ordered 200 of them. So, be interesting to see where that goes. Also, again, in more bearish news, Bair the Bear, she is on the board of Paxos. Her name is Sheila Bair. And she says, don't buy Bitcoin. It's at nosebleed levels. She should know the value proposition of Bitcoin. Okay, so you're going to hear a lot from people who have empty bags that have missed the opportunity and they want to suppress price. So be careful of all those people out there. I'll always keep mentioning them. Now, in good news, as you guys know, I like to look at numbers. And this is my latest rendition of where we are with Bitcoin supply. 21 million Bitcoins. 2.3 million are unmined to date. 11.76 million have been locked away in cold storage under hodlers. That includes the Satoshi Stash and many others. At least 3.78 to 4 million coins are lost, and that leaves approximately a trade float available to buy of about 3.15 million. Not a lot of coins. And remember, 4% of that 3.15 was just taken up by both Tesla and MicroStrategy over the last 4 months or so. So again, scarce supply like we've never seen. So it's going to be a very interesting one to watch as we go forward. Elon Musk back at it again. One coin to rule them all. You've all heard about this today, and he is back on Twitter. And I think he may have given up the Doge forever because he doesn't want to get a smack on the wrist by the SEC. Finally, always watch for the conclusions. This is the best part, where you get the distillation of all of these ideas all summarized together very quickly. So the key takeaways for everybody to be safe out there and make clever decisions: crypto is now real. It's mainstream. The haters are getting more and more upset as time goes on and as the price of Bitcoin goes up. And be careful of social engineering, phishing attacks, and ransom demands, because crypto is now so valuable. There are armies of thieves that want your coins, that want your money. So be very, very careful out there. Don't believe the FUD. It's everywhere. and the haters are everywhere. And everybody wants to build a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. Think digital fiat, except the government can now spy on you. And finally, Bitcoin is getting scarcer by the day. So that's the summary for today, everybody. Big thank you to the Patreon community. Love working with you every day. Thank you for all the support. And if you want more, always hit the like. Means a lot more than anything. And subscribe too. And I'm active in the comments. I'm the guy in the black bubble. Ignore everybody else. Take care, everybody. Be safe.